That's my.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors, January the 8th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Leyland,
Here.
Schwartz,
Here.
Trelka,
Here.
White,
Here.
Little.
Here. Okay, would you join us in a moment of silence? Okay, would you join us in a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Moving on to item 1, agenda received or is proposed.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public comments. Is there anybody like to talk to the board at this time? It's not an agenda item. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, claims and payments. Susan?
The county expenditures this week total $328,181.35. 328,181.35.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. And item B.
The expenditures for Country View this week total $338,256.24. 338,256.24. That includes the benefits for December. I also plan to pay back the advance that the general fund gave to Country View a couple months ago of $500,000. So the total out of Country View's account will be $838,256.24.
Does that catch us up then?
It does. And just to bring everybody up to date, we did close and finalize everything on Country View. We received the funds, and we will be working to make all of the entries still necessary to account for the closing. And that might take us a little bit of time, and so I'll keep you updated on that. But
In other words, you mean we'll be having this resolution paying revenues coming in yet and expenditures?
yes, we will still have expenditures. It should dwindle down, through the month of January here. And then, once we get everything finalized, we will continue to receive revenue for maybe quite some time. Brighton Consulting will continue to work with us on handling the financials for Country View until we get everything closed out.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 4. This is to receive project updates from department heads and or elected officials. Morning, Kathy.
Morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. Well, as you can imagine, with all the several freeze-thaw cycles we've had in the last few weeks, some of the gravel roads are in pretty mushy, soggy conditions. There's a portion of Leversey just north of Dunkerton Road that is in poor condition. We are hoping to get some rock out in the worst places. Tomorrow, we're expecting some colder temperatures coming in tonight, which should help us get the gravel roads into a better condition. If it would just stay frozen for a lengthy period of time, that would help. So can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Okay, item 5 is minutes approved for January the 2nd, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 6 is a consent agenda. This be made with a single resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Anybody have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Roll call, please.
Trelka,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Item 7 is reports. This is a motion at the recorder's report of fees collected from Sandy L. Smith, County Recorder, for a period of 1 December 2018 through December 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Sandy, you got anything? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 9, other business. Or no, we got one above that.
Yeah.
Contracts and agreements. This is a resolution of the contract amendment between Blackhawk County and O'Keefe Elevator Company, Omaha, Nebraska. Remove Country View from the existing contract. This is effective 1 January 2019, and to add Hartman Reserve Elevator, effective February the 1st.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on this one?
Why are we waiting until February 1st to put the contract in place for Hartman Reserve?
Oh.
Mike, you want to pull the lines or something? Looks like everybody's getting,
Abby Keenest, Maintenance Department. The reason we're waiting is there's still the 1-year contractor's warranty for that building, which will expire in February.
All right, okay. Thanks.
how long is this contract? We're amending it, but how long is it?
It'll expire June of 2020, so we have a year.
I thought was interesting is the only contract that Country View changed was they went to Schumacher because it was cheaper than O'Keefe, which I thought was kind of interesting. Okay, then, we have a motion on this one.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
White,
Yes,
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes.
Little.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 9, other business. This is a motion at the appointment of all members for the Blackhawk County Eminent Domain Board, term starting 1 January 2019 and ending December 31st, 2019. Be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item B is a motion at the personnel requisition for temporary account specialist, part-time in the county auditor's office, starting January the 9th, ending January the 31st of 2019, with a total cost of $1,427 be approved, recommended by Grant Veeder.
So moved.
Second.
Grant, did you have anything you wanted to say on this?
This
I know you
is,
sent an email to the board.
pardon?
I know you sent an email to the board. on
Right,
it.
and I explained that this was an unusual circumstance. We have this time-sensitive work to do for payroll and taxes, W-2s and 1099s are due very soon. And we have a situation where the employee involved has a family member who's having a medical procedure and needs to take time off. And so it just caught us at a bad time. And so we do have funds in the budget, and we're bringing back somebody with experience in this work to help us out.
Okay. Anybody else? Got any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item C is a motion to direct county auditor to advertise for a public hearing to be held at 9:05 Tuesday, January 22nd. This is for a proposed ordinance number 77-222, a request from Deanna Junkins on 6736 North Butler Road to rezone 2.9 acres from A district to AR.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D is discussion possible board action extending the Veteran Affairs employees layoff date to January 18th in order to train an incoming employee. I understand that employee's already there. Who put this on?
I did not put it on, but I can comment on it.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
So, due to the Country View situation, an employee over at Country View had to be lateraled over to a position in Vets Affairs. That position was formerly held by Yolando Lovelace. Kevin Dill, executive director over there, has asked for cross-training of the new employee, the one who lateraled over from Country View, by Mr. Lovelace before Mr. Lovelace's layoff was made final. So he's asked for until January 18th. My understanding is there is money in the budget for this over there already. I also believe if I take a look at 35B.6 Iowa Code, I believe the executive director has that power under state law, as long as this board has already approved the budgeting that's necessary for it, and my understanding is that that money is there. So my belief is that we have to approve it, but it was put on because I understand there was perhaps some misunderstanding about that.
So you're saying that no action needs to be taken by this board today then?
I don't personally think
Okay.
any action is necessary. If you're going to take any action, I think it would be in the form of giving it a blessing.
Yeah.
Well, it's currently going on right now, right?
He is there at the moment, but if there was some action in opposition to that, perhaps that could end the position right now. I don't know. However, I think that's in conflict with state law if that happens. I don't know that there'd be any repercussion, but I think it would be in conflict with state law. I also think speaking on Kevin's behalf, I think the reasoning for this is pretty solid here.
My thoughts on it are that he stays as long as Kevin needs him. I don't think we should have a date on there. Like you said, Mike, he's got money in his budget. He's allowed to do what he wants with that money, and there's veterans out there that still need service, and that's not an easy job to move into. It's not a typical job.
Well, and I think he's got some unique experience and
Right.
background for this right now. And frankly, I agree with Mr. White that, in fact, if there continues to be money in the budget, that's where it really comes down to this board, is whether there's money in the budget to pay the employee. But as long as we're not running over budgeted amount for Veterans Affairs, I agree. I don't even think we can put an end date on it.
What line items are coming from if there's all this money in the budget?
That I don't know.
But I certainly support Kevin's request here, and furthermore, I hope that this is the year that we have the funding of a veteran center in the budget, which would indicate a need for probably more staff there, and it makes sense to keep this guy that's been doing a really great job with us right now, rather than laying him off and then finding out that we add this veteran center, which I hope to God we do this year, and then have to try and either bring him back or find somebody new. So I think it's wise to keep this person.
Well, I think Kevin had asked to be on the agenda for a work session next week, and it was to update us, I think, on the center as well, the VA center. And I don't know about staffing, but it might be a good time then. We'll just review it then, and that'd be great.
And I'm guessing they have a commission meeting tomorrow afternoon, and I'm guessing it'll come up then as well, so.
Okay then, so we will move on then
Thank you.
for a work session. And this is going to be discussion, possible board action for consideration of all aspects FY20 Blackhawk County budget. Susan.
Abby, can you put my screen on? Last week I mentioned I was sort of hoping to have an overview for you today, but I didn't quite, wasn't able to get that ready. But I do have a few things that I'd like to go over. But first, I think we need to finish scheduling the budget work sessions for this year. So looking at the calendar again, keeping in mind that some people are going to be absent on some days, and trying to avoid Fridays, I would like to start having the departmental budget work sessions next Tuesday on the 15th. And then I believe, Dan, you're going to be gone on the 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So my one thought is that we could double up on the 24th, that's a Thursday, and do a morning and an afternoon session, if you like, and then do a session on the 29th after the regular board meeting, and then again on the 31st. and then try and finalize everything on the 5th. We could still have time for another work session that week. We could do it on the 7th if need be, if we didn't get everything in.
Why did we take off the 2 Fridays?
I know
What we had
Tom
scheduled.
mentioned a preference to not have it on Friday. We can certainly put back one, like on the 18th, if that works for everybody. It's just, it's kind of up to you and your scheduling, so,
Well, I think it's important to have all board members here when we're discussing the budget.
sure.
As it's been in the past. Usually, majority of my meetings I cancel. For the mere fact, this is our job to set this budget, which
Right.
I think takes priority over anything else.
All right, cancel the meeting for the 11th, so I'd like to see us reschedule that for the 11th and the 18th myself.
Well, I'd actually like to, we can put one on the 18th, but I would just like to have the rest of this week, with the closing of Country View, it just set me behind in the budget. So if we can start on the 15th, Tuesday and then we could do one on the 18th, if you like.
All right.
That would work, and then
Our next one's gonna be the 15th.
the 15th, and then we'll do one on the 18th. Do you want to meet in the mornings then?
Makes no difference to me.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, we can start at 9 o'clock, does that work? Okay, and then on the 24th, then we'll just have the 9 o'clock session on the 24th, and that should work for the rest of those highlighted meetings, and I can send this calendar to you and make sure that.
You got all the departments lined up yet, Susan, or is that? something
I
you're still
I
gonna be
don't,
working
I
on?
needed to find out
What
the actual
schedule's gonna be.
dates.
Okay.
Another question is on the board agencies. In the past, we have had them come to present their requests. We've had a few letters. I don't know that we've received all of the ones that we have in the past. Would you like me to schedule them to come and present?
I would think if they're requesting money from the county, at least come, because, all the boards got questions.
Right,
Is it going for services? Is it going for salaries or what?
okay.
So I think that's important. I mean, it only may be a couple of minutes, but I think they can at least show up here.
Sure,
But at the same token, I'd only deal with the ones you've got letters so far,
I
okay,
think most of them have indicated they'd like to be here.
and that's
Right.
fine.
and that's fine. Then I'll work to schedule those in as well. Another, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
About scheduling. I wanted to go over, and just also for Dan, and just to refresh your memories on the board budget documents. So everybody should have access to this BRD budget folder, board budget. And this is, you had asked about the materials that we would be looking at. In that folder, there's an FY19 and FY20. The FY20, there's a folder for each department, and this is where you will find the budget work session documents. I'm going to save everything in there once I get it all prepared for that department, and then you can go out and look at those. I can also make hard copies for everybody, and I did that last year, but just let me know your preference, if you want a hard copy or if you want to just go out.
Whatever we're discussing that day, you have the ability to bring it up, right?
Yes, I'm going to bring it
So
up.
the board can see it then.
Right. But just if you want to look at those documents, and once I get all the departments scheduled, I'll send you out a schedule, and then as I get those budgets more finalized and put them out here, then you can go out and view those documents prior to the meetings.
What did you request of the departments as far as a budget? I mean, you didn't put any
So-
restrictions or guidelines on it? You just,
Well, let me go out and show you under 19. Just going to pull up. So under each folder, and it's not there yet for FY20, but you'll see a folder for budget work session documents. You can ignore some of the other files that are out there. Those are my working files. But if you go into budget work session documents, once those folders are there, last year, this is how we presented it, and probably follow the same format. When we take a look at it during the budget work session, there'll be a summary page so that you can see previous year actuals, the current year budget, and then what was requested, and this is the FY19. So there'll be a summary page. Whoops, sorry. Then there will be one that provides detail by our account codes, so you can see some further detail of that. And then there will be one that has the actual detail from what is being entered into the financial system. So this is kind of hard to see up there.
Sure is.
But this provides the actual line item detail. But what it will also have is, as the departments are entering their budgets for some of the things, let me scroll down here.
So this will actually show the board whether it was an increase in their budget or a decrease.
Right, those two summary pages and account details also have, it has the dollar increase, the percent increase on it.
Okay,
This does as well. Over here, you'll see, like, so this is 19, and then it'll be the difference here, and then it'll be the percent change. But what this will also have in here is for some line items that require more detail. So this is IT from last year, in their maintenance contracts agreement line item. They budgeted $190,000. This will show you all of those, the detail that makes that up. And so that's where you can go see, you want to see all of the maintenance contract agreements for IT that make up that $190,000.
and they'll probably always show an increase because most of those contracts have a percentage increase each year.
Right. And so we'll talk about those things in, let me pull up. When we're looking at the department summary, then you can see over here, like for IT, the salaries and benefits overall increased, but there was a decrease in operating, a decrease in capital. And so we'll talk about those differences during the budget. So what I had the departments do is we ran the budget worksheets with a history showing the last 3 to 5 years, and had them look at their average actual expenditures, especially for the operating, to do a budget for this year. And then there's fluctuations depending on, sometimes there's one-time things that departments are doing in that particular year. So there are situations where some departments will have increases in operating for certain items, professional services and different things, or decreases. And so once we put all that into the spreadsheet, let me pull it up here. And this, once I get this all put together, so I don't want to pay too much attention to these numbers here yet because it's not all in there. But then we can see the total increase and decrease. This doesn't show you, but this is the increase, decrease in tax askings. Let me go back to the other. But I'll put it all together so that you can see the total increase and decrease in operating expenses, capital, salaries and benefits. And last year, I believe we had a decrease in total operating expenses in the general fund. And so that was I guess, as far as what the departments have done so far, is they've entered their operating expenses based on prior year actual history. I have been working on the salary projections, working with Debbie, since we're in the middle of contract.
What do you currently have in?
So I've used some of the, and Debbie, I don't know, do we want to talk about where the contracts have
Well,
been?
what do you got in the budget currently right now? What'd you put in for a salary increase?
Well, depending on the contracts, I put in what Debbie had said they were looking at in each of the contracts. So Unit 5 and Unit 4 have had some changes. The other ones, it looks like it's 2.5% on this next fiscal year. For non-bargaining, and this is some of my questions that I have for you, I haven't got down there, but in the past, we've plugged in 3%.
Correct.
I can plug in 3%, or whatever you want to plug in there. The compensation board met, and they came back with a recommendation of 5% for the sheriff and 4% for all other elected officials. And so that was one of my questions. What would you like me to put in for elected officials, and then also for the non-bargaining? And so those are some of the things as I am putting together the budget. I mean, I have some numbers plugged in, but I want to get your feedback on what you would like to see initially with
So you're
this.
not exactly plugging 3% in for everybody right now. You're using some contract numbers.
I'm using some, preliminary things
Okay.
that Debbie has
What'd you put
provided.
in for non-bargaining then?
I put in 3% for non-bargaining.
Where are we at, Deb, on contracts? How many we've got settled, or?
Morning, Board. Debbie Bugger, HR. So right now, we've met with 3 of the units. We haven't brought you the TAs yet. We were hoping to get them all to bring to you at one time. We're still trying to get meetings set up with ASME. This year has kind of set us back because of the change in Chapter 20 where everybody had to recertify the union. So that, and then the closing of Country View has impacted our timeline this year. So we are actively right now working on getting ASME set up. So we have 3 TAs for 4, 5, and 1, and we're working on 6, 7, and 8.
We got 3 more.
Right, and then we'll bring them all to you.
Sounds good. What's your plan, Susan, this year on the commercial tax? Are you gonna put that in? You gonna leave it out, or what's the?
That's one of the questions I wanted to discuss today. So we did have the good news, I guess. Let me pull up. Is that we saw growth this year, taxable valuation. We had 4.3%. This is history going all the way back to FY10, taxable valuation growth for the total county. And I can give this material out to you. Rural also saw some growth this year too, and this is good. Last year, we had very minimal growth, and so this is going to be beneficial to us this year. Looking at if we maintain the same tax rates that we did last year, this increase in growth would result in, I have the number somewhere here, almost 1.2 million additional revenue in the general fund. Now, there was also an increase in the rollback for residential and ag, so that means keeping the tax rates the same would cause an increase in taxes that the property taxpayers would pay. And I didn't know if you wanted to look at, I also have some graphs, and I wanted to find out if you wanted to discuss further. I could put together some more information. Last year, I believe I sent you various graphs on tax rates as we compared to the other top 8 counties in Iowa. The top graph here shows our tax levy trend for the urban tax rate from like FY14 to FY19. It went up in FY16. That was due to the debt service for the public safety radio bond. And then last year we had the increase mainly due to we didn't have a lot of growth and we had to include Country View. So I didn't know if you wanted to have me give you some more information, if you wanted a discussion about the, I guess, goals, strategy of where you wanted to see the tax rate, what you wanted to see as far as just discussing strategies on that. These 2 graphs below that, FY18 is our urban tax rate compared to the other top 8 counties, and you can see we're the 3rd highest there. This was FY '18, and we remained the third highest in FY '19. But that includes the debt service, the public safety radio bond. We also have our tax rate, and I will send out these graphs, is higher on the mental health than the other 8 counties. So when you look at just our general fund, we're not as high as it looks here combined, but
So,
We're higher than,
go ahead.
we're higher than the other 7 counties on mental health.
yes. I don't know if I can pull this out. You'll have to, it's a little messy here. Oh, I think that's the same thing I have pulled up. This one. Hold on. This is, the tax rates for mental health. The blue line, Black Hawk County, is where we're at, and the average of the other 8 counties is in red, and so we're much higher there than the other counties as far as our tax rate for the mental health. But I can put all of these graphs and some information together for you so that we can look at that. But I guess that's one of my questions. Do you want to have a conversation at one of our budget work sessions regarding this, I guess, and where your, I guess, goals or?
Well, I think it's part of the puzzle. I mean, it's, sure, it warrants. I don't know, with the growth in tax base that we saw there, is a plus, and with the additional revenue you receive from Country View, and with the reserves sitting around 30%, which is actually a little high. Over the years, our other auditors used to say about 25, 26%. I think the county's in a good position to kind of stay pretty level this year and meet our services. I mean, if we don't, I don't know why we aren't.
Right.
The commercial tax, I guess, my opinion is we're gonna have to put it in. How much is it for the county? Is not $1 million, is it?
Oh, yes, so that was another question. I have this up here. We receive approximately $1 million right now.
And if we included that in there and they put a kibosh to it, then that would probably have to come from our reserves, correct?
Right.
But if we
So-
did put it in there and they left it in there, now we're sitting again with a high reserve. So I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but I think we ought to roll the dice and put it in this year. They claim they're gonna keep it in there, but you know, that's gonna work.
I agree.
Well,
I think all the scenarios seem to be that it would phase out over years,
Yeah.
so maybe we put it in at 90% or 80%
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
we can do that.
well, I know they taught, maybe the most aggressive one maybe that they had discussed was phasing it out a third over 3 years. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go back and check. But do you want to cut it back a third? I don't have all my numbers in here yet, but I did look, I did estimate what I could, and just to take a look at things. Since we had the growth and we don't have Country View, even without including, if we didn't include anything for the backfill, it looks like we could maintain about the same rates as we did last year. So I don't know if we want to, and that's including nothing for the backfill.
I think
So if we included part of the backfill,
when we
could
start
still be
talking
looking
about
at it.
that, and the board, Chris might have a good idea about putting a certain percentage in. I think that's a good idea, and that'll try to get us to start learning, the next 3 years, if that's what they do.
Right.
We don't know what they're gonna do.
No, I don't.
I don't think they do right now, so. When does that usually, come out? It's like in May or something, isn't it? When we
April,
hear-
May, June.
It's afterwards.
Probably be a last minute thing.
Yeah.
Christmas time is what you're saying.
No.
I think that your reserves are good enough, because I think they will phase it out, and if they take long enough to do it, they may, and this is no guarantee, but they may wait a year to put it into
Yeah, I
effect.
agree.
But I think your reserves are going to cover you for anything that they would do.
That's certainly something then, but right now, you don't have it in now?
Well, I mean, it's all, I can put it in and like, right now I can just put
No,
it in.
no, I
So it's just
understand that.
however you want to, we can look at it various different ways. It's just that, I guess that's what I'm asking. Do you want to cut it back reduce it by a third, reduce it by a half, or you want a higher percentage in there?
Well, obviously, we're gonna talk about it again when we get in the
Yeah.
budget, to give the board some time to think about it.
Sure.
There's some good ideas out there right now, so.
Okay.
Either way, I think the board's looking at putting something in, whether it's the 100% or 90 or whatever.
Okay. On salaries and benefits, we talked a little bit about it. I wanted to talk about health and dental. So we asked our consultants a perspective to provide us with an estimate for next year. With the removal of Country View employees, it was kind of difficult to predict how that will impact our health insurance. They did come back with some preliminary calculations estimating a 4.9% increase. So
Not bad.
they had a little higher increase for dental, but I would propose, and my initial thought was to put in a 5% increase, and that's what we did
What
last
did we
year.
include last year?
We did a 5% last year.
And what was their estimate? Their estimate was even lower when it came in, didn't it?
I think so.
I think that's fair to start out with the 5%. That's pretty good compared to where I've seen it. 20%, 25.
Okay.
And again, we don't hear about that until later on either.
Right. One other thought, and I will put together some information on this, but when we look at the rural fund, we saw 3% growth this year. We had a decrease last year. Go back to the main thing that's in the rural fund. Oops. Are the salaries and benefits for the sheriff's patrol.
Sure.
Well, we have planning and zoning and libraries in there, and then there's the transfer to secondary roads. But we have seen some more significant increases in the tax rate for rural in the past few years, only because with our increases in salaries and health insurance, especially health insurance, that tax askings in the rural fund have grown, really outpaced the growth in the taxable valuation for the rural. I guess looking into the future, I'm not sure that the growth in taxable valuation will keep pace with what we're going to need for increases in salaries and benefits. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit, because as I looked at some other counties and what they included in their rural fund, I didn't see that they included public safety expenditures in there for like their sheriff. And so I didn't know, back whenever you just, I'm not sure when it was, how long we've been putting in sheriff patrol salaries and benefits, or how that came about, but I just didn't know if there would be
Why would we pull it
a reason
out?
for some discussion.
Why
I'm not
would
saying
we?
we should pull it out. I'm just saying that, it might be something we want to look at and look at what other counties do, and only because I don't know, moving forward, how much you want to keep increasing the tax rate in the rural, that would be necessary to cover you know.
But again, you said that's just one piece in that rural that's being paid for, right? I mean, we have to look at the other things too that are coming out of that rural fund.
Right. And just one thing that came up as we were looking at emergency management and funding options for consolidated communications, it was brought up that we do not, our portion of what the county pays towards the Consolidated Communications Center is actually in the general fund in the sheriff's budget and not in the rural fund. And so, you know, that portion is allocated based on usage, and so the various cities pay their portion. But then the county is really, you know, doubling up, you know, putting it in the general fund, then it's getting doubled up in those cities. And I think, as Dan had pointed out, so that was just something, if we move that to the rural fund, of course, that would just increase, you know, the amount that we have in there, but just another item that we should maybe talk about
We
when we
can
look
take a
at
look
that.
at it when we
Yeah.
get that.
We need to.
I think either way, what needs to be clear to the public is that, in general, folks in the urban areas are subsidizing, to some extent, the services in rural areas. And that should be clear too. So the folks in the rural areas understand that too when they look at their tax rates, that they're already being offset somewhat by the contributions of folks in the urban areas.
But isn't that the same fund a few years ago? We took it to a referendum to pay some of it for roads and stuff.
So are you talking about the local option sales tax?
Yeah. It went for, what, 100% tax relief,
It used to be, yeah.
and we take a certain percentage now that goes towards,
Now we put half of it, 50% in the rural, and 50% goes towards roads.
yeah. Well, certainly, again, that's something the board will look at.
Okay. Are there any other, I guess, issues or things that you want me to look at, bring back to you?
Well, I think if anybody has anything more, they can just email you.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. Could you send out an email once today on what dates we're actually gonna
Yep.
tentatively in time so we can
Yep.
get it?
I will try and get the
Just kind
department
of
schedule.
think of what
Yep.
the board said. And certainly, I know there's been some Tuesdays you said you wouldn't be ready for us Thursday because you're working on certain departments, so we'll take that a day-by-day thing.
Right. I'll try and get the departments scheduled and get that out to you, hopefully today or tomorrow.
Again, I'd like to see the salaries at the very end along with the nonprofits so we can see where we're at. And I can't think of anything else that we usually push to the rear. Compensation board.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, then you got everything you need for now. Susan?
Any department heads got anything they want?
Is anybody sitting out there got anything they want to add? That's up now before we start looking at it. Mike. Well, we always look to the back row. Okay, then, we'll do it again next Tuesday. So, any reports or information from the board? Anybody? Okay, with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.